Alright, what's up, boys and girls? This shit was absolutely incredible. I'm starting this video off the same way I started the last video with, what a fucking day, man. How is this shit even possible? And I swear, this happens to nobody else but him. And then on top of that, it always seems to happen on his day off. Remember last week when he had to take an extra day, but he couldn't tell you why? And I could just picture him yesterday trying to relax and play some good Christian mobile games. And then all of a sudden he gets a Discord notification and probably an email, maybe even a text from one of his mods. And he's probably like, hey, Phil, Keem's threatening to talk to your family and friends in real life. Well, you ain't got shit to worry about there, because he ain't got a single fucking friend anyways. I bet that part of the research was easy for Keem. Probably took a total of 10 seconds to get all the DSP's friends on the line. I'd be willing to bet he didn't even have to make one phone call. But then here's where all the speculation comes into play. Who could he have possibly got to come out and talk? And that's assuming this isn't just bait and, he's doing it just to fuck with Phil even more, which is always a possibility. Now, I think we all know the obvious candidates would be Rambo and Howard. And by the way, shout out to the homies Rambo and Howard. Oh, and shout out to Jaha in case he didn't see that tweet. Jaha being a good Samaritan and contributing when he can. But, who else could it be? His parents definitely ain't going to come out and talk. And I saw a few people speculating that it might be his cousin that he trashed the last time she was brought up. He said she was a drug addict and she might have been homeless at one point or some bullshit. It's like, why would you say this stuff, man? And I really hope it's not brazy. I mean, while that would be entertaining, it would also have nothing to do with Phil. She'd probably talk about Phil for 30 seconds and then start going into her van problems, her man problems. I heard she's in the can, so her can problems. And I think most of us ain't trying to hear all that bullshit. But remember the story about his quote-unquote rich uncle that helped bail him out of a tax issue the first time around? I mean, we might get a guest appearance from that guy. Or maybe it could be some former pro fighting game players. And I mean actual pro fighting game players, not this Neo Geo conversion bullshit. And it ain't gonna be Jasper, cause, as they say, the cat's probably got his tongue. I kind of feel like we're playing Clue here or something, and I don't know, the butler did it. We're trying to narrow down all these suspects. But speaking of cats, we can probably rule Chaos Realm out. I don't think she would betray her loving husband like that. But then again, maybe for $5,000, she might bolt out of the snort fort. So that leaves us with two very interesting options. Panda Ree and the three-letter bitch. Now, we know Ice Mocha Latte will come out and talk. I mean, if I was able to get him to come out and talk to detractors, for free no less, I'm sure Keem would have no problem. The only issue is, if he offers him money to do it, that money would find its way back to Scopely, hint, hint. Also, throw in the fact that the subhuman is a pathological liar and it doesn't bode well. So we might be able to cross him out. And that leaves Panda Ree. Now, I don't think she wants to be bothered with this trash, but something like $10,000 would be hard to turn down, especially if she needs the help right now. It would be interesting to hear her take, but it also wouldn't be anything current. I think the two biggest things we could get out of it would be, what the hell happened at the end of their relationship and how addicted was Phil to mobile games at that point. Like, was he walking around the condo with the phone on his hip so he could whip it out like Billy the Kid used to do with his revolver? Dave Phil Burnell Bennett. Fastest mobile game draw in the West. Get the fuck out of my face with that. But outside of those two, I can't really think of too many more people. However, allow me to throw one wild card out there. How about someone like Swaggins? How much shit do you think he has on Phil? And for the clout and the right price, Mrs. Swaggins would turn his back on his master. And that would be some epic gold dust without a doubt. But yeah, man, we gotta give a shout out to Keem. Whether you like the guy or not, he has drawn more reaction and probably paranoia out of Phil in such a short amount of time than probably all of us combined, maybe with the exception of Tevin and the SOK back in the day. Which brings me to another point. Phil always blaming us for ruining his life and how detractors are fucking up his business, blah, blah, blah. And look at the last couple of months. He gets decimated on an interview by a couple of guys that barely know anything about him. And he got decimated because they saw straight through his bullshit. He wasn't talking to his dumbass fucking audience, where he can just ramble in circles and they're not smart enough to understand what's going on. It's sad, man. But now he's getting his shit pushed in by Keem. And the only reason Keem's doing it is because Phil couldn't shut his mouth and let things blow over. He had to keep putting out emergency videos saying, oh, this is the last time I'm gonna address it. Meanwhile, he talks about him every other day. And that's the beauty of all this. We didn't even have to do anything. As one of our prophets, GTG, always says, give Phil enough rope and step back and watch him do it to himself. And I'll let y'all in on a little secret here. I already got a response from a lawyer for a consultation. And this is no bullshit. This is 100% the truth. Now, I'm still not sure if I want to go through with this, but could you imagine all this shit hitting him at once? And to be honest, it would be karma. Because think back to all the times where he's done those emergency videos and he would say, oh man, I can't ever catch a break and everything is always going bad for me all the time. And just when I think I'm going to pull through, another bad thing happens and screws me over. Meanwhile, there he was making over $100,000 a year, blowing some people's yearly salary on fucking mobile games. He had 2 homes at one point, one on each side of the country. All these mysterious tax problems, but he's flying some random woman he met on Twitter in from across the country for staycations. And then he's taking trips across the country to have secret weddings. He piles up all this debt and then just declares bankruptcy and somehow gets it. He runs his mouth all the time while he's protected in his little chat. But if you say anything to him, he's gonna ban you and trash you after the fact, when you can't even say anything back to him. And let's not forget how he blatantly lied about never striking people and how he doesn't take channels down. But then he shows his flag history and what do you know, he was striking people and taking channels down. So whatever Keem actually has planned for you, Phil, I think we're all just gonna sit back and enjoy the show. And as many other good Samaritans have already said, if you need help with something, Keem, just let us know. And by the way, the offer still stands. If you're willing to back me up, then I'll take this as far as I can. Because Phil, you don't get to false copyright strike people, admit that you did it to, quote, teach me a lesson, continuously lie about it after the fact, and then tell me and every other detractor to go fuck themselves. You don't get to do that and then get away with it, just like you have every other thing in your life up until this point. I'll talk to y'all very soon, hopefully for TCAP 24, unless a fucking go.